Jujutsu Kaisen. And
Who with it now?
Yeah, I'm gonna toss it over to Josh after this little drop. Go for it, Josh.
All right, we got Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 196, Sakurajima Colony, part 6. Oh, interesting. 196, part 6. Yeah.
Ooh.
That's nice. I like that.
That is nice.
A lot of things happened last chapter. So many things that I'm going to ask Christian really quick to recap that for me.
Well, last we left off, we had Daido introduced, the wandering samurai, desperately looking for a katana. He's the katana guy, and he just like pulls up to the battle after Maki and Noritoshi have been pushed to the ropes, basically, and he just comes out of nowhere, throws Maki's sword away from her, and just starts slicing into Naoya, despite the fact that he doesn't seem to have any cursed energy or the ability to see curses in general. So he lands pretty devastating blows on Naoya before. And notice, and he talks about how he can see things by seeing everything else, and Maki is just like, "What the fuck does that mean?" You know,
right?
And it was
and that's what's on her mind now.
Yeah, as the other guy, well, the other sorcerer that pulls up, I guess his name is Mio. He starts a simple domain that is basically a sumo ring, and that's where we left off.
Right. So Maki starts backing up into simple domain / sumo ring set up by Mio, and he's like, "Damn, like you looking like you real anxious and all that. Like you need to get loose and maybe play some sumo.
Have a sumo
maybe? Huh? Perhaps.
Want to play some sumo?
Perhaps." So no, he asks her, "Do you like sumo? Then how about we have a sumo bout?" And he's been hearing no for, I don't know how long this colony's been running around for, but since the beginning of that, since the very moment he was brought back to life in this era, in this game, he has been hearing no about sumo wrestling. So you can imagine how Mio, that's his name, how Mio must have felt when finally someone said, "Okay, fine." And it's like, so what if, it's this charbroiled young woman, you know what I'm saying, who's probably never sumo wrestled in her life. He'll take. That's what I like about Mio. You know what I mean? He's not picky. He likes what he likes. Yeah. Feel me? He knows he wants to sumo wrestle, and that's that. Okay, let me stop. So he gets super duper excited as the barrier erupts. I thought that was a nice little touch. I thought it was just gonna stay as like a sumo ring, and that was gonna be that, which would have been cool enough. But them going into like this little arena was dope. I think it kind of plays a role in Maki being able to think about things a little bit clearer. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So like mentioned before, Maki's been thinking about how what the swordsman. The sorcerer swordsman without cursed energy, what's his name? Dido. Was able to like swing with such power, like such raw strength. And I guess, like how was he able to use like the heavenly restriction? So that's still on her mind. And as they begin their sumo match, Maki charges towards Mio, and Mio, he knows he catches that he, I guess his opposite. I guess everyone has observation hockey in Jujutsu Kaisen, and at least in this colony. But yeah, he knows that he's about to get fucking destroyed head on if he goes into this girl. So he thigh steps her, busts a little turn, and throws her to the ground. Nice! That's a point. Nice. I think I should have looked up how sumo works. I'm pretty sure he won that round though. He got a W. He did something. He scored or
something happened. I mean, I think
he did something to advance him winning.
I suppose so. I think like it's more you got to push him out of the ring. So I guess maybe he did earn a score of some sort. But
I mean, boxing you could get points for hitting people a certain way and doing things.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
That's possible.
Maybe it's not boxing though.
Hey, maybe you get points for downs.
Anyway,
I don't know. I don't watch sumo.
I'm giving him fucking points, bro.
All right.
He get New Jump City sumo points.
He does get New Jump City sumo points.
Yes. All right. He says, I love sumo, but you way more gangster than that, right? I mean, shit. I was scared before. I don't know what happened after that. So it's, I guess basically he notices that something's wrong, and he's like, why can't you focus? Like, what's going on in your head? And we get this little excerpt from the narrator where he brings up the fact that Maki never really had a teacher. I guess not like a specialized teacher, like a master, so to speak, right? The same way Itadori had Gojo, and I don't know who that other guy is. I forget.
That's one of the other teachers. But I guess he
was someone else's.
That's one of the other teachers at the school.
Right.
I remember him vaguely.
Right. So she had because everyone else had cursed energy, and she was the only one that fought without it. So she didn't have anyone to relate to with that. Which makes sense. And so they say how it's not like she never seeked it out or like had an issue with it. It's just that I guess like she's not the type to just like, stop doing something because of, like people not extending a hand. She's self-motivated. So that's just kind of what always pushed her. So I guess even just this small moment of another person, again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but let me just continue with the pages. So, there's that to think about. So perhaps we're about to learn she's about to learn something from the sumo guy. He actually, it's like he could read her mind because he's bringing up how the samurai says something about, well, he didn't say exactly, but he remembers what the samurai said to her. And he's like, all right, I got you. I'm going to let you know how I feel about it, but I can't say it in words because I'm orally challenged. Therefore, I'm going to communicate via the art of sumo wrestling.
Hell yeah.
And we got a really cool 2-page spread. I think it's way better to look at it in that style.
Yeah, in landscape.
And I'm just going to read it word for word. He says, you've become entangled, girl. And she responds, in what? He says, yourself, others, curses, and basically people, which I guess is the same shit in their world.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's 2 phone drops, guys, if we're counting.
Can't go one episode without one. Can't go one episode without a phone drop.
Yeah. Shout outs to my ghetto setup. Anyway, so he says, yourself, others, curses, basically people. But isn't sumo about grappling? Yes. In the ring, one person clashes with another in an intense back and forth. The wrestlers themselves, however, develop outside the ring. Pressing your opponent in the ring requires stepping outside the ring, even though you actually can't. At the moment of impact, everything that led up to entering the ring flows into the combatant. And he explains that basically you sense everything about your opponent and yourself. And I'm not going to continue to read it word for word, but he essentially says that this all leads to freedom, right? And in my words, I believe like the point he's trying to make is that like when you're in any craft, like anything that like you kind of like put your heart in, whether that's like a hobby or your job or something like that, everything you do outside of it influences the person you are, therefore influences how you're going to react in that, doing that thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you could look at it with sumo, like, all right, obviously you could look at the analogy of training, like, okay, you need to do your exercise and stay committed to that in order to be a good athlete in the sumo. But you could also look at it as far as the things you learn in life, the obstacles you face mentally that can help you deal with, hardships in the ring. Because a lot of the time, man, like when it comes to something physical, you can will your body past the point that you never thought you could. Given certain situations. I don't know how that works biologically. I know that's a real thing. It has something to do with adrenaline, I guess. But you get the point. like the mental aspect of like a sport or a physical any physical hobby matters so much, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's what he's trying to explain to her. Like you too focus on your fighting skill. You need to just kind of like take a deep breath and realize that your fighting is a culmination of all these other intricacies. You know what I'm saying? How well you can, you know, like read their moves, how you could see their emotional state, their environment around you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the weather, like all these other things that seemingly wouldn't matter, but you know, you incorporate them, and I guess that unlocks you being able to slash houses in half. Pretty lit and freedom.
And freedom.
All right, so now they do some sumo, and we get a shot to the other three people, the swordsman Noritoshi and Weirdo Naoya Curse Spirit TM. They both witness as Mio's Mio's barrier breaks, and she defeated him in a sumo match while he was at his best. They're in trouble.
Yeah. No, that's Maki saying that she's at her best.
Oh, she's saying that.
Yeah.
I thought he was saying I'm at my best, as in like he lost at his best. And he can't believe it.
No, yeah, I think the word bubble points in a weird direction, but I think this is supposed to be Maki.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm willing to believe you on that one. Okay. This was YRGC.
Oh, it was also mine. This is a unified, really good chapter of the week.
Unified RGC. Unified RGC. Unified RGC.
Yeah, you got any? You got some thoughts on this chapter, Christian?
Yes, I absolutely adored this chapter, man. Top to bottom. I just like for one thing on the surface level, I'm a really big fan of this like philosophy and sports type of thing. I think this is one of those things that make like sports manga really great when they're great. You know, Haikyuu, Aishio 21, Hajime no Ippo, they all have this kind of thing that correlate the taking care of your mental state and your spiritual state to achieve a higher control of your body during these, I guess, athletic, for lack of a better term, exercises. So in general, I love that shit. I just love that kind of like philosophizing. I'm kind of a sucker for it, and this was pretty great, nonetheless. But I feel like there was just so much with this that was so tied to Maki's character. It's so funny how like a lot of the best seasons of Jujutsu Kaisen are very much tied to Maki. There's a lot of like love and affinity for this character that I feel on behalf of Akutami. That, you know, she gets like a type of development that the others don't get. And especially because she is the underdog character of the entire series. She came up in a family that didn't really respect or love her because of her faults, her inability to tap into curse energy and see curse spirits. And she's come a long way to being one of the most dangerous fucking people in this series. And she was already nice before the Shibuya arc. So, it's really cool to see that. I think a lot of the stuff that he talks about with freedom, in terms of freedom and allowing yourself to step out of the ring and let all these other influences cascade into you, I think it's very interesting in terms of Maki, because when you look at the power system of Jujutsu as a whole, it's a very rigid and rules-based power system. You know, everybody has their own rules of engagement. From top, whether it's the curse techniques to domains, there's different like approaches, and there's these very stagnant rules on how to defeat people, and people with heavenly restriction tend to be looked at as like dangerous and outsiders. We see it with Toji, Fushiguro, or not yeah, I think he was a Zenin, but you know what I mean. Zenin, he was like a heavenly restricted guy, and everybody feared him. because once you master that, you kind of like break through this kind of like weird traditional thing that exists within the jujutsu world. And there's a lot of talk of these like old conservative heads, the heads of the jujutsu world that like things a certain way, and Gojo betting on Itadori and his generation to be the ones to bring the jujutsu world into a new era where it's not like exclusionary or shitty. You know what I mean? And
right.
Maki is kind of the poster child for that, because she comes so far despite the fact that her entire life is based on rules and more rules when it comes to family dynamics and power systems and battle in general. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot here,
Yeah.
and I very much appreciated this chapter for that. I love this chapter a lot. This is one of my favorite chapters of the whole series in general. Not to mention, it looks so fucking cool. There's like that 2-page spread where Mio's talking about smelling light or seeing sound. Such a great fucking well drawn, where like there was a lot of
It's
detail.
one of those things that's hard to explain too.
Yeah, but you get it.
Like you kind of have to just know. Yeah, you kind of.
Yeah.
You felt it. Everyone's felt it before. You just had to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, this was so good. Jujutsu Kaisen is so fucking good, and I've known Mio for 2 chapters. Again, just like a dope character. Everybody in the culling game has kind of a different motivation. Some people operate like they're not really even playing it. There's a chance that Mio doesn't even know that he's in the culling game, because he just stepped into a barrier and now there he is. So it is super interesting to see how this develops and what this means for Maki's character. I cannot wait for her to sumo the fuck out of Naoya after this. But yeah, that's all I got to say. I thought this was a great chapter. But yeah, Josh, what did you think though?
Well, like I said, this was my favorite chapter of the week because I had a lot of depth to it. Even as I just scrolled through these pages, there's so much variety. There's action, there's character growth, there's a lesson learned, you know what I mean? There's this, I'm going to show the panel real quick. But for those listening, you can go to chapter 196, pages 12 and 13. That looks like you could put a poster. That's a poster to me.
Yeah.
Even though, maybe if you could remove the words and just leave it like that, I just think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it I didn't understand it all the way. I didn't know how I was supposed to follow it and all of that. I just thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you made a lot of great points already about Maki and about her role and what she kind of represents, and I agree with all of that. It's just I really like when characters have these moments about their strength. When I remember it was like Naruto had a similar moment when they were talking about when he was learning about the natural chakra, or whatever, using the natural energy to fight, and how he started becoming a little bit more at peace with himself and more confident. And it's cool because sometimes it's not an over exaggeration. Like I mentioned earlier, your mental state matters so much more than it controls everything, all your actions.
Yeah. Especially in a super magic death match.
For sure. No, This was a really good chapter. Yeah. I don't know if it's one of my favorites, but this was from the series, but it was top notch for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, maybe it's hyperbole on my part too, but I can't deny how I feel. But that's all I gotta say. I could gush about this forever, but what would be the point in that?